Hey there. Good morning, folks. We're here with Intuitive Wealth Leaders, where we are uh, promoting internal and external wealth building. So, internal wealth building meaning our personal growth, our mindset, uh, personal growth. And then external wealth building meaning growing our goals, our finances, whatever it is that means wealth to us on the outside of us externally. So this morning I'm going to talk a little bit about some things that I've been posting about and talking about. Last week I talked about um, embracing risk and embracing that for the purpose of growth. And that is so important that we need to be able to take calculated risks and thoughtful risks in order for us to grow. So, uh, obviously, my one of my big risks was jumping from a space that I knew really well in healthcare and mental health and jumping over into real estate, which was a new industry for me that I didn't have really any experience in at all, other than just buying my own house, which I look back on that and I think, gosh, I really didn't know what I was doing. Excuse me. Uh, so we need to be able to take risks for growth. Um, And so, what comes before taking that risk is actually a decision. And so, if you're an overthinker like me, you may have some trouble making decisions and getting yourself to actually take that leap. But you know what? Not making a decision is actually a decision as well. So, keep that in mind when you're not making the decision and you're avoiding it, because you're still making a decision. You're just making a decision not to make the decision. So, what are some things that we can do to make those decisions a little bit easier? Um, well, do some research, but don't get analysis paralysis and just research, more research before you take the plunge. Give yourself some boundaries for what it is that you actually need, and maybe in a measured way. So before you're willing to actually take the plunge. So you can help yourself make the decision by writing down. You can use the pros and cons. What are the pros? What are the cons? That's some of what I went through in making the decision to sell the house and move into the RV. What are the pros? What are the cons? What am I giving up? What am I gaining? And if I don't make this decision today, then when? And what's that going to look like for me? So, what it came down to was, it's still, I still reflect on it and ask myself, did I make the right decision? And question myself constantly. But I know that I am making the right decision because there are a lot of pros with making the decision now and not waiting. So one of those pros for us is, going and being able to be mobile and go visit family and making that simple and not having to worry about this 2,400 square foot house and our 4 acres of yard that we have to mow and not having to worry about that. So that leads me to, this is the right decision for us. But again, I still constantly question myself about, this is scary. It's a change. It's a huge change for us. So it's normal to kind of rethink and overthink But, once you make the decision, you really have to stick to carrying it forth. And the more you think about the past and what's past and what if, it's going to stall your growth forward. So instead of worrying about, you've already made this decision. I mean, we're already plowing forward. The house is under contract. We're to close on September 4th. We have an RV in our driveway. So there's no turning back for us. So thinking about the what ifs does not do me any good at all. So we're moving forward. And if decisions aren't the right decisions, you can always course correct. You can always make another decision and um, correct where you've been. So it's not really a big deal. But I know that decision making is hard for many of us. And so use your pros and cons, reflect on it, on your, those pros and cons, and maybe ask somebody. So, I usually ask for people's opinions and ask for what they think. It's not like I'm going to take those holistically and listen to what people are telling me. I don't let people tell me what to do. So if you know me, you know that that's not true. But if I, here are some things that you need to think about, or they say something that, that sticks with me. One of the things that stuck with me was I was just like, let's just get rid of everything. Let's put it out there. Let's give it to the thrift store. Let's sell it all on marketplace. And I was selling a lot of stuff, and I thought, well, I'll just get new when we get a house again. And somebody said to me, not really giving me opinion, but said, yeah, it's when you downsize, you're really selling all of your stuff for pennies on the dollar of what you paid for it. And in order to get it back, you're going to spend even more money than that to get it back. And I went, oh my gosh, I don't want to do that. So we ended up keeping some stuff that I had originally thought that I would just get rid of. I just thought I'll just get rid of it and we'll just buy new when we're ready. But then that statement was made and it made me rethink. And I was like, okay, I'm going to still get rid of some stuff, but there's some stuff that I'm going to keep because I want to be able to not have to spend all of that money again to replace all of it. So that is definitely something to think about, is what people say to you, and bring it in, assess it, assimilate it with the other information you have, and utilize it. So did that person like say it negatively to me? No, it was just a statement, but it made me think. And that's good. It's good to make yourself think, and it's good to surround yourself with people who are going to make you think. Even even if it's constructive criticism, that is really good, because sometimes we get too much in our own way and we don't really think about what we're doing, and we make bad decisions because we don't ask for input. Um, and there are some people that I wouldn't necessarily ask for input on, but as I share my story and I share, what we're doing, I listen to what people are saying. And so that is something that we all need to be willing to do, is share. And the other thing about sharing what it is that we're doing, it commits you. So when you're talking about your decision, here's the decision that I'm contemplating. I'm contemplating this or that. And you start having those conversations with people, and it ultimately kind of puts you in a committed position for one of those two decisions to be made, which is a good thing because it can help push you forward and help you be like, okay, well, I've already shared this with people. I've already told people that I'm going to open this business. And I'm thinking about these two locations. And so it really does commit you to follow through to a certain extent, especially if you are an obliger, which I talk a lot about accountability. And obligers want to do what others are asking of them more than themselves. So when you make that external commitment to others, you go and post it on Facebook, and then even better, you start talking to people about it in person, on the phone, just sharing your story and what it is that you're planning to do. That is commitment, and you're committing to that. Now, that doesn't mean that if you find something else or some bit of information comes in that you're like, oh my gosh, maybe that's not the right decision, then you can't course correct and change that. You certainly can, for sure. And so, just take it step by step, but hold yourself accountable to actually making the decision, and then setting steps to take to get to your goal, to execute on that decision, because that's what's usually the hardest. And sometimes it's not the decision that's bad, it's really the execution of that decision. So if you have a hard time executing, like I do that as well. I am a ideas person. So if you're an ideas person and you don't do execution well, then get some help with that. Get some help with a plan, get some help with accountability. That those are things that you're going to probably need in order to be successful, because it's usually not your decisions or you personally that leads to some failures. It's usually execution or lack thereof. Are you doing the things that you need to do in order to get to where you're trying to go? Are you building those habits so that you are doing what you need to do to get where you need to go? That is so very important. And if you're not taking the right actions and you can't hold yourself accountable, then you need somebody external to be able to help hold you accountable, which is me. I need others to hold me accountable, but I can help hold you accountable to whatever plan it is that you put together, and I can help you with that plan as well. So if you need some help with that, please let me know. So back to decisions. Um, don't be complacent and not make a decision. I know people who want to do certain things and they say they're going to do them and then they never do. And then all of a sudden, time is gone and life is short, people. We're not going to be here forever. So you might as well take the plunge and live a little and live in the space where your passion is versus, continuing to say, I'm going to kick this can down the road. I'm going to do this later. Um, I am a high achiever and that was what I did. I want to do that and I want to achieve all of these things, but I got to wait till this. I got to wait till, I get a pay increase. I need to wait until I get a promotion. I need to wait until I can sell that house. I need to wait until I learn these things or get certified or whatever. I got to wait until. And that's what kind of stalls us. And those of us who are high achievers, we're always setting huge goals, but then we deflate ourselves by always saying, I have to do this first, instead of let's set up some parallel paths so we can do them side by side. And I can do this while I'm doing this too. So obviously, there are some things that are going to come before others, that you can't do one before the other. I know in real estate, There's a mantra out there that you don't have to have any money, can use other people's money. And that is true. It's true. You can use other people's money. When you go to a bank, you're using other people's money. But the fact is you can't be broke and not and worrying about your next meal and go and start a real estate business and be successful, because it takes time to grow, and it takes time to succeed in any business. And so you do have to have a little bit of money to get started. You have to have some money for marketing, or some money for gas to go drive around, or some money that's going to pay your bills while you're trying to get started. Um, so there are some things out there that they have some truth to them. But I wouldn't recommend that people like jump all in and try to start a business with absolutely nothing and no money, because it's hard. Money does a lot for us. And if you have ever not had it, you know what I'm talking about. You know the difference between having money and not having money, and what that feels like in your ability to be able to do some things. And now, some decisions may be made based on whether you have money or not. And, that is my goal, is to not let that be my driving factor, is not, well, I have to do this because I don't have any money. Um, and so we've had to make those decisions. So I don't have the money to hold on to this property, so I'm going to sell it for less than what I want. That's an example. And sometimes those decisions have to be made, and they have to be made for the best, and you have to look at the big picture as you're making that decision. Because what is critical is not what is now, but what is in the future. If selling that house for less than what you wanted is going to help you get to where you want to be in the future, then it's probably going to be the right decision. Um, so keep that in mind. It's one of those things, like they say, um, you may have lost the battle, but you're going to win the war. You have to keep that mindset of winning in the future. Maybe not today, maybe not this deal, maybe not this job. This job wasn't the right one for me. But in the future, you're still heading towards that bigger goal that you have for yourself. So, don't let these things that are barriers, or not wins, hold you back. Make sure that you don't decide that you're going to quit, because quitting is a decision. Don't decide that you're going to quit because you have had some failure, because that is a decision that you probably will regret, and you may not come back from that particular decision if you just up and quit. Now, maybe you decide that this path is not right for you, and you have created a better path for yourself to take. That's totally fine. I've done that, and rehabbing houses. I don't think that rehabbing houses is really my path. I don't really like it. It's a pain, it's difficult, there's a lot of risk. You have to deal with a lot of people, and a lot of people don't follow through with what they say they're going to do, and I don't like any of that. I don't like dealing with that. Um, and I don't even though I am not always accountable, I don't like lack of accountability, and it feels like there's a lot of that in that space. Um, so that's not really for me. So we've shifted that to focus on mobile homes. Those are, less cash in for us to buy them and rehab them, and quicker to get them, turned and get the cash out of them and back out there. So that's going to be our niche that we focus on now. But we had to make that decision, and we're totally not out of houses yet. But it wasn't a conscious decision to change our path to focus on mobile homes, which changed a lot of the daily tasks that I have to do. Um, and that's okay. So it's not that I quit at all. It's just that I'm focused a little bit differently. And so we have to do that all the time. So don't be afraid to make the decision to let go of something that's not working, because that's another thing. When I say don't quit, that doesn't mean that you should keep working on something that really isn't working. Sometimes you really do have to make that assessment and go, this really isn't working for me. And so I'm going to have to do something different. And you have to make that decision, because holding on and holding on and holding on is not going to probably make it better. But when you make a calculated, conscious decision, thoughtful decision on where you're going to go instead or what's going to happen instead, um, you can feel much better about that. So I've learned being in the corporate world, one of the things that we experienced was having leadership that had lots of ideas, but really didn't have the ability to fully execute all of those ideas through the team that we had available. And so we had a lot of started projects that really weren't going anywhere. And then we had a lot of projects that were like pet projects of leaders who, they wanted to throw a bunch of resources at it. And so the um, finally, the decision had to be made to let go of some of these projects based on specific criteria that was set up by the senior leadership that said, we're going to look at these things. And if the project doesn't meet these certain criteria, we're going to let it go. We're going to let it go and we're not going to pursue it, even though, yes, we've put $1 million into this. We're still going to let it go and make that decision, because what that then does is refocuses resources on the things that are important. And as a small business, you should really only have one or two big goals. And when you decide to take on so many different things and everybody says, set up multiple streams of income, that may be necessary for you to survive personally, but it may stretch you too thin, when it comes to your business. So be careful with that. Be careful with deciding that you're going to jump on this opportunity or that opportunity, because it may not be the right timing for you, because you need to focus yourself on the things that are most important for your current goals. So, uh, hopefully, you don't have trouble making decisions. But on the flip side, if making decisions is super easy, and you make decisions on the fly, and you don't think them through and you don't really analyze them, that's not always the best either. So we need to be kind of midline here. Don't take too long making decisions where you're overthinking, but also don't make quick snap decisions, like going and shopping and buying those shoes, immediately, because it's impulsive. So don't make impulsive decisions either. So there has to be a happy medium, and you'll find the right mechanism to help yourself get through, making those decisions and what works for you, because there are a lot of things that you can do that will help you do that. So, but if you do need help, reach out. I'm happy to sit down with you and come up with a plan for how you can get through that decision making process and ultimately make the right decisions for you, whether you're an impulsive decision maker or whether you're an overthinker. Um, Either one, uh, really having a plan for how you're going to make those decisions and measure the outcomes is really critical. So I am going to jump off this morning, and I hope that this has been helpful for some of you. Drop me a comment, say hi. If you're watching the replay, let me know. Drop a comment in and let me know you're watching the replay.